Like I said, we're going to wait for Joel to see if he can make in here too, but it is 2:01. So kind of like get the camera rolling and begin the conversation as is. Welcome to this week's weekly briefing. This is the one time a week we pull conversations from our community and have them here live with you in person, open the discussions, and even give you a chance to process with us. So as we talk today, if there's anything that you want to chime in, any other additional examples you might have or what have you, please feel free to join us in the conversation in the chat. And as always, there's RevCommunity out there where the conversation could keep on going. So I always invite you to be part of the conversation in any way possible. What I love about these weekly conversations is we really take a chance once a week to ask ourselves the question, what are people really dealing with? How does it impact being a business owner, a creative business owner, and open up the conversation to maybe some tricks, routines, best practices that other business owners know. So we love this moment getting away. And before I go too far, let's welcome Jason. Jason's joining me today too, talking about action. Jason is on the front line every single week with clients, aren't you?
Yeah, I don't. Front line might be a little too
go with the motifs.
Don't keep it's not like tough. We're not out there, yeah. So, well, I do get the pleasure of engaging with lots of different types of studios on a weekly basis and leading them through conversations around production or finance or operations, any of those things. It's a lot of fun.
For those of you who don't know, Jason and I are the first two original RevThinkers. Jason was my banker when I opened up my checking account at RevThink, and then we met each other maybe a year later, and I dragged him into it. And this thought process of what we're dealing with today, this thought of action and momentum, really comes from those early days that you and I did together, isn't it, Jay? Of what are our really asking us to do, and how can we help them?
Yeah.
The term I used more often than not is this term coming alongside the business owner, where there are actions and ideas, thoughts that they want to get out, but kind of need a little bit of push and momentum. Hey, Joel, welcome in.
Hey, guys.
Just kind of kicking off the conversation. But the idea of putting things into action is really that, like, how do we come alongside and kind of give the owners a next push? And Jay, I think you and I early on recognized, we probably should up a level of service than just being a coach or just being a doer, to this thought of, well, if we're going to implement and strategize on systems and routines, sometimes it's helpful to have a person come alongside you and actually coach you through that or be the anchor for a lot of those conversations.
Yeah.
I think that's what you do a lot today is clients rely on you to say, oh, Jason's on Zoom. We better get over to that cash flow call with them. And you allow for that and create some of that accountability, don't you?
It is. And we've talked about this in the weekly briefing many times, but it is about that discipline, right? It's, showing up for the small stuff on a regular basis so that if there is a challenge, you've got the practice of dealing with things like cash flow or production challenges that are coming at you. So it's that discipline is really critical.
So Joel, why don't we share what we've learned recently and why we're rolling out our most recent accelerator called Studio Accelerator in a very different format than we've done before. Where that what we've recognized before is that we had kind of two classes of engagement, this accelerator modular learning engagement or one-on-one engagements. And sometimes they were put together where you might be walking someone through Jumpstart and and a few people would engage you separately to be their one-on-one coach. But we saw absolutely different transformation when those were put together than leaving them separate or having people taking the burden of one-on-one engagements and educating and then implementing, or only educating and not really coaching implementation. But that this co-collaboration between one-on-one and modular is really something we believe in and understand the transformation to be very different.
Yeah. By the way, I was going to say, it looks like we're recording. Can you unshare the screen?
Oh yeah, of course.
So everyone can see my my pretty face.
That's what we want to see.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, greetings from Savannah. It's good to be back here at SCAD. Yeah, I think the thing that here's what I'll say is sort of a common question that I hear is certainly owners will do this. A lot of people will do this. They'll be like, hey, can I just go through the whatever course, the class, right? Can you send me the series of videos and I'll learn this thing? And what we found a long time ago was that actually didn't work. It didn't lead to actual good outcomes. Even though people would sign up for that, there wasn't transformation. And so we just had to have this tough conversation amongst ourselves. Like, well, are we in the transformation business or are we in the, I don't know, selling classes and courses business? And we said, no, we're in the transformation business. And what is it that produces the greatest transformation? And it was this combination of structured knowledge learning combined with human one-on-one accountability. And I guess I would also say, like, when you work with somebody individually, there's just a relationship that builds. And Jay, you've obviously seen this working with a lot of your clients over the years. Like, you're just in deep with a lot of the specificities and day-to-day things that otherwise just don't get, I don't know. It's like you have a friend coming alongside you that kind of knows, hey, that recurring frustration that we've always had, how are we doing? Are we making progress on that? And that comes from a human-centered relationship.
Yeah. Tim, you said come alongside. And one of the things that we also used to describe it early on was a friend of the owner. Just, and it wasn't about, it was about that kind of longer term connection and knowing the challenges that, and the sort of the deep.
Oh, did we lose Jason?
Yeah, I lost him.
I think Jason was going to sound something really profound there, but I kind of was tracking where he was going. It's this thought process of, if you're the owner themselves, it's really helpful to have somebody that understands what they're teaching and then create an engagement that helps them accelerate it. Where we'll flip the burden of the other side. When we were, the modular based learning is really helpful because we can get a lot of people on board with a thought process. And then we say the words, hey, systems and routines, or roll this out to your team. But what we recognize, honestly, is that the burden we're putting on certain business owners to have to roll it out themselves was a little too much, when that idea of just patterning what the routine would look like. So, for example, I think about the production roll-up. Production roll-up, to have a point of accountability for a while so the team is hitting a deadline, the same deadline on a week-by-week basis, allows for everyone to proactively create engagement with the system, and then put the information we need to on a specific deadline so we can analyze it properly. If you don't have that routine in place and you don't have that accountability in place, and you just hope people update it, you might have one person updating on a Tuesday, another person on a Friday, one person updating it when you ask them to do it, and then you really don't have the overall big picture. And then the hope therefore is, or the downside is, you don't get the analysis, the visibility to do the analysis to make the decisions without things being in sync. So the one-on-one engagement really puts it in place. Let's get back to the question, though, that we're really asking here, right? So the burden of action is the thought process of, I want to do something different with my business. I've learned this or read it in a book or heard it somewhere, and I know for sure I need to implement this change. I have a growing business or desire to grow my business, and I want to implement this new person or process in my company. The next step is the business owner goes to people they work with on a day-to-day basis, and they say, I have something new. Joel, why does that fall dead as soon as the business owner says, we'll say, once again, I have something new? What happens that it doesn't get the traction you want?
Oh, man. Well, I mean, a lot of it is, I'm just going to call it the gravitational force field of status quo. Like, first of all, when you go to your team, they're all busy. They're all like, what is this? right? Is this something you're putting on me and you're asking of me? Often the owners also, there's a lot of, what's the term we use, Tim, for the person that always thrives in the crisis because they always rise to the moment and they save the day. And there's that addiction, right? So a lot of times the owner doesn't realize there's actually an addiction. Like I see this a lot with owners around operations items.
Yeah, very much.
Right? Around operations. There's these like, well, there's all these little fires that come up and I'm able to kind of like just stop for just a quick minute and handle that and take care of that. And I can't really trust anybody else to do that, or I can't afford a full-time person to do that. And so there just becomes this pattern of I save the day and it kind of feels good. And my team says, oh, nobody could do that except Joel because, right, Joel's the owner. And therefore, so there's all these bad habits. I just call it, momentum and status quo that's going to tend to just drag you back into, well, that was a nice idea last week, right? Thanks, Joel. That was cool. Now let's get back to work and just keep doing what we've always been doing.
Yeah. So what I hear you say, and I'll add one to it. What I hear you say is the minute somebody wants to do something new, or a business owner says to the team, I want to do something new, one of the first questions your team might ask, well, who's going to do that? Is that my job? Are you just piling more work on me? Or were you going to do that, business owner? Or are you just thinking of the ideas? So that status quo can kind of create some friction. The next thing I hear you say is that the thought process of implementing some change, you might get some short-term gain from certain superheroes on your side. That one person that is always willing to jump in and change things around and create some momentum. But that's a short burst, and it doesn't actually institutionalize that change into a specific pattern or routine that gets there. I think the third one that business owners often implement is a very visionary person. So it's not uncommon for them to say, I have something I want to change. And then everyone goes, again, or we've already tried that once, or we keep trying and we never really make that happen, which makes your team give up. So just the words or the desire or the knowledge doesn't really help you implement those action items into your company. If you guys were to think of one trick, just between the two of you can kind of think of each one, think of something different. One trick that that has made a difference working with other business owners, what's one thing that you have done or could do with a business owner and say, I know we want to make that change, and here's how I'm going to help you make that change?
Jay, you got something?
Yeah, you're not going to like my answer too much, Tim, because you already know it. My one trick is like, and it's not even a trick, but the one thing that I tend to do when I'm in an engagement is, if it doesn't have to be chaos or something like that, but when there's something that needs to be done, I tend to take the action on and either do it myself or partner with the client to do it, instead of finding the right person on the team, perhaps, that should be the one doing it.
Yeah, Jay, I totally agree. I think you're a hands-on coach, and people love that. Because there's so many questions they have to say, well, Jay, I hear you. I know what you're asking me to do, but I really don't know what it looks like.
Yeah.
So you kind of model that momentum and you say, cool, I'll show you. Let me run your production meeting for you. Let me hold the agenda of that production meeting, and I'll just keep that going step by step, and I won't let you get off track. I'll kind of hold the line. And then that 1 hour production meeting becomes 20 minutes because you're showing them, look, I'll show you can get through it without too much distraction. Where a team that's working closely together, they get easily distracted and pulled in each other's webs, and they can't really get out. Yeah. I
just know you've encouraged me many times to take a different approach, and I default to what I so.
Well, only when you get caught in the web yourself, I'm like, okay.
Yes, exactly.
Join me on this side. Exactly. How about you, Joel? What's one trick that you've learned?
I mean, probably my favorite one is what Tim, you started using the term moonshot years ago, and I really like that idea of giving an owner, like, I want to take you out of the muck and the mire that you're in right now, And not just talk about tomorrow or next week, but talk about like, imagine this time next year, if this is what life or what your business could look like. And one example I would give is if I reference the mixed mountaintop management system, right, which was the first, I think, generation of the factors method. Like when I say to an owner, imagine opening up your laptop and in 30 minutes having a meeting that basically runs your company so that you could close your laptop and go back to enjoying the mountaintop that you're sitting on. And that's that moment that it's like all of those, well, yeah, but like, well, what if that was possible? It's like, oh, it gives us enough of a, I don't know, excitement, enthusiasm to sort of push past, okay, for the next few weeks and the next few months, you're going to feel like, why bother? I know we're trying it again, but we've tried this before. It's like, stick with it, because when we finally get there, you're going to say, okay, now that we're here, thank you. I'm glad you gave me that moonshot, right? You gave me that vision of like, once we got there, it is really going to be different. It will truly be different.
Gosh, to hear you guys give those answers, it is so right on to who you are. Each one of you is. I almost feel like we should bring Matt into this conversation too, Matt Fuller, because his view of what he might do as an advisor as well. Because I think I might split the middle of you, and if people listen, they can kind of hear how we advise people different. I personally lean to this idea of ownership, and I think, oh, if I can get people on the team to own it, then they'll be okay with making judgment calls and recognizing the flexibility and have some determination to get there. So working with the business owners, I often step in and say, let me own it for a while. Don't you worry about it. This is what you want to do. I have the correct why behind it. Let me own it for a while. And while I own it, then I transfer ownership to someone else, because I don't work for the company and I could coach. And I'm not the business owner, so I can push and create opportunities. And we have this, one person that could always veto something that's not working right. But this thought process of moving ownership, then I'm getting kind of like the work routine that you talk about, Jay, that high push of like, hey, how do I actually create the momentum to start with? But Joel transfer that ownership sooner than later, so the business owner didn't have to do it themselves. And I, to be honest, if we were to talk about the systems and routines that we've built around RevThink, it has a little bit of all of us mixed into it and a little bit of selfishness. Hey, how will this system work so that Jason could come alongside and actually take the burden from business owners, or Joel can know it works well that when it's time to let go, or I can say, look, it has the visibility. As deep as you want to go, I'll show you all the opportunity to analyze, create decisions, and be engaged with the software, or the routine, or the conversations. Because sometimes we program just conversations to keep things going. Like sales is often a program around a conversation more than software, right? We just pull software off the shelf and have those conversations.
Yeah.
If you were to give someone advice today of where to start, I think that often the term that's thrown out there from business podcasts or books is this thought process of delegation. If you could just delegate properly, it will all just magically work. And I think the three of us know specifically, like, delegation's a cute idea, and definitely avoid abdication, definitely do delegation. And delegation meaning, hey, if you do it well, there's clarity. But delegation doesn't always work when you're looking for company growth, because of that human factor of someone, the other side, receiving it that meets their needs, their personal needs. So if you had a piece of advice today, or an understanding today of where someone should start, where would you have a business owner start with maybe learning the proper timing or strategy for an action they want to put in place, or implementing something that they've recently learned and they don't know where to start?
Well, I'll go first this time, since Jay went first last time. I would say the thing that I keep, and this has been a personal discovery of mine that I keep coming back to, and I think I'm learning this more and more and more, is when you're starting with something and you're saying, hey, I have this goal, I want to produce this result, it very often is tied up in a delegation, right? It's usually not going to be the owner, the one that's doing it. Okay. There's another Dan Sullivan quote there that, you can do anything as long as you're not the one to do it. Okay. So that's what we mean by delegation. But the one thing that I keep coming back to is, what's the result you're looking for? And then this is a really boring word, I hate using this word. What's the report? What's the simple report that's going to tell that person and you we're winning? And the word we use a lot is scorecard. What's the scorecard? Because really, until you've figured out what is it we're trying to do, what's the scorecard that tells us we're winning, until you have that, you're really going down this road of frustration where, as an owner, you're going to be taking it back because the person's not doing it right, or they're not getting the result. Oh, that wasn't the right person, I'm going to fire them, I need the better person. And Tim, there's the whole, how, not who thing that you and I've talked about in the past. So I would say that that's one place I would say is a great place to start, is to be thinking in terms of, here it is again, systems and routines. And that comes together around a report, like a scorecard that says, this result, we're getting there, we're doing it, we're winning, we're succeeding. I'm going to continue to support you, person that I've delegated this thing to.
You totally stole mine, Joel. That was exactly along the lines I was going to say. Because I like the idea of, and a former code writer myself, of making a program in a piece of software, you learn this term garbage in, garbage out. So the right program for your company has a sense that the outside result, what comes out of the result, is what you desire based off of what you put into it. And that measurable analysis that you can see from the right conversations to the right reporting to the right decisions being made is a result of the type of inputs you created to make that happen. And I think that is to teach somebody how to program that system through systems and routines to get to the other side is really huge.
Well, it's believe me, it's not, I don't know, it's not glamorous. Like, I don't think this is really how I'm wired. It's like, I've learned it the hard way, I think, from you, Tim, because this is what you've been preaching for so many years. And I really have come to fully embrace this idea that when you look at all 7 of the ingredients, each one is simply a method, right? If there's a method to running a successful creative company, we would say it's this, right? It's mastering these 7 ingredients. Just take any one of those ingredients and say, there's a method to sales. There's a method to production. There's a method to finance. And method is systems and routines, right? Based on certain fundamentals that we just continue to improve over and over again. But yeah, things like reports and scorecards, they're not really sexy, but man, that is where the rubber meets the road. And that's where you're actually achieving the thing you want to accomplish. So,
and our accelerators really is just the code. Hey, if you take an accelerator, you watch a module, you learn from that, you're really just downloading the code, which is the beginning. And again, I think with this upgraded studio accelerator, the thought process is having an advisory call every other week with a RevThinker to actually take that code and then start implementing it and then show you the possible analysis that comes from it. And the more you can understand the inputs you're putting in there specifically to match your company strategy, and then looking at the measurable results with a RevThinker that can also help you analyze and discuss, are you getting the results you want to? Like, I think that's where we get that transformation that we're looking for in our new accelerators. How about you, Jay? We kind of hijacked the conversation. Did you have anything that you would say is a piece of advice?
I mean, really, I was going to get into foundations, which is really what Joel basically said, which is it's not necessarily exciting stuff, but good. That's why all of us are in this like space right here, because the 3 of us thrive on, maybe Joel's a little bit of an outlier, but we thrive on the execution. And no, you'll get where I'm going with this, but we thrive on the execution of the mundane, right? And you guys all like have these brilliant creative things that you're pushing out and doing in the studio and in your business. And it's that's in a way, that's why RevThink works so well with creative studios. It's like peanut butter and chocolate, because you guys are all doing the parts that you love. And it just so happens that creative part oftentimes needs some support in the systems, routines, and operations side. So
early on, right, 20 years ago now, or 18 years ago, whenever this thing started, what I learned is that people get into this business for fame, fortune, and freedom. But their belief going into it is luck. If I'm lucky, I'll be famous. If I'm lucky, I'll make money. And if I'm lucky, I'll get out of this thing and have a lifestyle that I want to live. But what I learned is, no, you can put effort and systems into place to actually achieve fame very easily, fortune, super obvious, and freedom. Of course, that's what we're talking about, mastering the 7 ingredients. So what's the mechanism necessary to achieve those goals? That's what my desire was and trying to figure out when I first got into this. How do I help somebody achieve their career goals of fame, fortune, freedom? And what can I learn? What can I invent? And what can I apply to make it happen? And then each of you guys have picked on that opportunity as well. So you're also recognizing, oh, there's some mastery in this thing. There's a lot of fun, interesting ways to explore, and then watch other people thrive because of it. What an amazing life that we get to live and benefit we get to put out there.
It's a lot of fun. I mean, I people often ask me, right, like, do you miss running your studio? My answer is always, I miss the people, but I don't miss the other part, because to me, it actually is a lot more exciting to, in a way, vicariously work through or see my clients accomplish things that I kind of only hoped or dreamed I would someday accomplish. So when I see people crushing it and making a lot of money, or producing really brilliant creative, or having this incredible, awesome balance to their life, whatever those things are, right? Whatever that mix of fame, fortune, freedom is. And if I'm somehow helping that occur because it wasn't previously possible, I mean, that's me living my best life. That's all I can say. So thank you.
Yeah, very much. Okay, before we wrap it up, because we only have a minute, I think we've been talking about the studio accelerators. And Joel, I think the website is now live. Did you finally hit the button to update that thing? So if they go to the RevThink homepage right now, they'll see a link right there on the homepage. They'll take them to the studio accelerators, and also in the hamburger menu, you can see something there.
Exactly.
Here's how it's going to work. You have to first get a hold of us. We're not going to just allow you to jump right in and choose the accelerator. We want to get to know you in a very quick 30-minute meeting, so that when we can talk to you and figure out which advisor works best for you. And then as you're choosing the accelerator that best fits your need immediately, we're actually looking for a roadmap of a year's worth of growth. So we actually want to roadmap out for you, what would the next 3 or 4 accelerators look like beyond the first one you're taking? And how can we as advisors work alongside you, even if it's for one season work with Joel, another season work with Jason, one season work for me, and the accelerators you're taking, we want to roadmap that with you. We really are pushing people towards this transformational growth in their business, and we don't want anything to hold them back. So the way we want to build this thing and work with you, we want you to join us. If you're just curious, please just join us right there on the homepage. Give us your email address, set up that meeting. Let's get started. Anything else we need to know about that, Joel?
I think you nailed it. I don't want to add any more noise to what you said, because I think you said it really nice and clear. Thank you.
Of course. As always, we're in RevCommunity. Feel free to reach out to us there. There'll be more information rolling itself out. Kickoff week for this is in just 2.5 weeks. So we're looking to roll out these accelerators in a very short time. Feel free to join us. And obviously space is limited because our time is limited to do those accelerator engagements with you. So let's wrap it up. Either one, you want to wrap it up for us today? Joel, you want to wrap it up from Savannah?
Is it my go? All right, sure. Jay, I'll take the burden off your shoulders.
Thank you.
It's great to be with all of you. Thanks for getting together as we do every week for 30 minutes to do this thing we call the weekly briefing. Tim and I and Jason and everyone else on our team, it's a privilege to help you guys thrive in business and life and career. So I look forward to seeing a lot of you in this new program, this new offering called Studio Accelerator. And if you know somebody who you think might be a good fit for it, certainly send them our way, and we'll have a conversation with them and see if they're a good fit. And to all my clients that are here or elsewhere, It's super my privilege and honor to work with you as well. And looking forward to continue to moving forward with each of you. So, all right, I think that's it from Savannah, Tim. So have a great rest of your week.
Have a great week with the workshops. Jason, thanks for your time, and blessings to you all. We'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone.